Good evening. Coming up in Mello TV Evening News tonight, SOE is declared for Clarendon, St. Anne and Kingston Western Division. More murders recorded across Westmoreland and St. James. And former Defense Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Rocky Meade, get ambassadorial appointment. The opposition PNP raised concerns. And now the news in detail. And Mello TV has been advised of some breaking news this evening.
The People's National Party is appalled by the unprecedented news that the head of government of Jamaica, Prime Minister Andrew Holness, has been referred to the Director of Corruption Prosecutions for possible charges after a multi-million-dollar corruption investigation. This referral by the Integrity Commission is based on their investigation and report to Parliament implicating Prime Minister Holness in allegations of conflicts of interest regarding tens of millions of dollars of contracts awarded to close associates of his from as far back as 2009 when he was Minister of Education. This revelation exposes our country to international embarrassment. A head of government should be beyond reproach, and it is unacceptable that he has been besmirched by accusations of this kind of impropriety. That the country's principal integrity and anti-corruption body, the Integrity Commission, has found sufficient evidence to refer our Prime Minister for potential prosecution places Jamaica in an untenable position. This devastating news is unfortunately consistent with the Prime Minister's troubling history with the Integrity Commission, including their inability to certify his 2021 statutory declaration of his assets, liabilities, and income.
The first annual Global Tourism Resilience Conference was officially opened today by Prime Minister Andrew Holness at the University of the West Indies Regional Headquarters, Mona. The Prime Minister welcomed the news of the United Nations' recent declaration that February 17 will be commemorated annually as Global Tourism Resilience Day, a development initiative by the Government of Jamaica with development concept from Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett. Prime Minister Holness noted that the Caribbean has been singled out as the most tourism-dependent region in the world.
Tourism continues to be a major source of income, foreign currency earnings, tax revenues, and employment for many developing countries, including small island developing states in particular. The Caribbean has been singled out as the most tourism-dependent region of the world. While tourism remains the lifeline of many other small, undiversified economies in the Pacific Ocean, the Indian Ocean, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Atlantic Ocean, it is the Caribbean that has its greatest dependency on tourism.
The conference will have high-level discussions on a range of issues, including lessons gleaned from the COVID-19 pandemic. Prime Minister Holness emphasized that the sector must be protected from various shocks.
There is a clear case to be made for the tourism sector to be protected as a global asset. This is against the backdrop that the sector is increasingly being exposed to volatility and disruptions arising from a range of both traditional and non-traditional threats, including natural disasters, climate change and global warming, terrorism, insecurity and political instability, cyber vulnerabilities, economic recessions, epidemics and pandemics. Indeed, tourism is affected by almost every global shock. Many of these shocks can present themselves suddenly and with devastating impact, as with the recent COVID-19 pandemic.
The three-day conference is being attended by ministers of tourism from several countries and other international industry leaders. Mr. Holness expressed that there will be focus to harness the untapped potential of the African continent.
An important focus of this conference, which I wholeheartedly endorse, is the thrust that will be placed on harnessing the untapped tourism potential of the African continent. While the African continent has been increasingly directing its attention towards tourism as a driver of economic development, given its rich cultural heritage, wildlife, and natural resources, there are still many barriers that constrain these efforts. Consequently, the tourism sector in Africa remains relatively underdeveloped, offering significant potential for growth and development. This conference presents an opportunity to holistically engage the needs of African destinations and to better understand the efforts, resources, and investments that need to be directed towards meeting them.
States of public emergency, SOEs, have been declared for the parishes of Clarendon and St. Anne, as well as the Kingston Western Police Division, due to a surge in criminal activities. The announcement was made by Prime Minister Andrew Holness, who said that on advice of Commissioner of Police and the Chief of Defense Staff, the Governor General, His Excellency Sir Patrick Allen, has declared these states of emergency for an initial period of 14 days beginning at 12:01 a.m. on February 15, 2023. Commissioner of Police Major General Anthony Anderson reported that the Clarendon Police Division had the highest increase in both murders and shooting incidents, while St. Anne Police Division had a 50% reduction in murders but a 22% increase in year-to-date murders. The Kingston Western Police Division had the highest number of murders and shooting incidents from January 1, 2023 to February 10, 2023, an increase of 31% compared to the same period in 2022. The declaration of states of public emergency will allow the security forces to disrupt and dismantle criminal gangs and their networks and prevent serious crimes. The government has assured the public that the safety and security of all Jamaicans remain its top priority and urges all citizens to cooperate with the security forces as they work to stop criminal activity. Yesterday afternoon, February 14, a truck driver from Gordon District in White House, Westmoreland, was attacked and killed on a church property in his neighborhood. 39-year-old Ordell Salmon has been identified as the deceased. Westmoreland detectives reported that around 5:30 p.m., Salmon, who usually parks his vehicle on the grounds of the White House Church of God of Prophecy, was getting ready to do so when a blue Toyota Axio pulled up and one man got out and brandished a handgun. The gunman opened fire and shot Salmon several times while being chased on the property. The assailant approached the now deceased as he lay on the ground and proceeded to shoot him repeatedly, then fled in the waiting motor car. On arrival of the police, the scene was processed and the body was taken to the morgue for post-mortem examination. And over in Manchester, the police are investigating the circumstances surrounding the shooting murder of a common-law couple this morning along the Kendal Main Road in the parish. The deceased are 29-year-old Damien Robinson, also known as Bleachers, of Miketown in Manchester, and 22-year-old Shamoy Bora of Comapen in St. Elizabeth. According to reports, the common-law couple and another female were traveling in a Toyota Mark X motorcar down the Kendal Main Road about 12:10 a.m. when they were approached by men driving another vehicle. The gunman reportedly opened fire, hitting Bora and Robinson multiple times before making their escape. The police were summoned and the two victims were transported immediately to the Mandeville Hospital, where they were pronounced dead. The other female managed to escape unharmed. In the meantime, 3 persons were killed in less than 6 hours in the parish of St. James yesterday, including a female craft vendor. 47-year-old Aretha Clark, a craftsperson from Hendon in Norwood St. James, 41-year-old Albert Reed, a builder from Roehampton District, and an unidentified man were shot and killed in the community of Retirement. According to reports, after finding Clark's body inside a car about 5 p.m., residents in the affluent community called the police. When the police arrived at the scene, they saw Clark appear to have multiple gunshot wounds to her upper torso. The scene was processed and the body was taken to the morgue for a post-mortem examination. Prior to Clark's murder, residents heard explosions coming from an area of the Retirement community and contacted the Granville police. The police responded, and while they were conducting a search of the area, an unidentified individual was found lying in a pool of blood, suffering from several gunshot wounds. In the other incident, Albert Reed was killed in the Montego Bay area just after 7 p.m. at the intersection of Jimmy Cliff Boulevard and Howard Koch Boulevard. According to reports, Reed, who also drives a robot taxi, was taking a passenger from downtown Montego Bay to Bottom Road. When he was approached in the area of Harmony Park, he was ambushed and killed by a lone gunman. A passenger who was also in the car was shot and received treatment at hospital. Lieutenant General Rocky Meade, the former Chief of Defense Staff for the Jamaica Defense Force, the JDF, has been named as Ambassador Plenipotentiary with responsibility for national strategic initiatives. On February 13, his appointment came into effect, and in his capacity, he will coordinate national strategic initiatives and projects across ministries, departments, and agencies within government to guarantee prompt and successful implementation, as well as advise Prime Minister Andrew Holness and the Cabinet as warranted. The Office of the Prime Minister will serve as Ambassador Meade's base of operations. But in light of Lieutenant General Meade's appointment, the opposition People's National Party has raised concerns. The opposition notes that mere months after the Prime Minister's unconstitutional and aborted attempt to name the retired JDF Chief of Staff as Cabinet Secretary, he has been appointed Ambassador Plenipotentiary.
The opposition is calling on Prime Minister Andrew Holness to disclose to the public the specific role that retired JDF Chief of Staff General Rocky Meade will play in this new position and the compensation package being paid to him. The opposition further calls on the Prime Minister to clarify where this newly created post will fit within the public service, as it appears to overlap with existing positions and responsibilities, which would be an inefficient use of scarce public resources.
And those are the stories making the news this evening. And thank you for tuning in to Mello TV Evening News. I'm Nicole Hills. Stay safe and thanks for watching.